You can now get a 30-day trial to experience The Athletic for free. Visit the link in the description below to try it now.
This weekend, Alex, on Sunday, the 22nd of November, it's exactly a year before the start date of the Qatar 2022 World Cup. England have been featuring, of course, during the international break, but we thought it'd be a good opportunity to take a look at the squad and for you to tell me your starting 11 for the World Cup a year away. Now, bearing in mind, of course, form is temporary, class is permanent, or so say the commentators on popular football video games.
Sure.
Here's our board, here's almost the entire England squad. Now you show me what you're thinking.
Okay. Well, I think there's a few players who are absolute defaults for this.
Andy Cole.
Andy Cole. Harry Kane, there he is, up front.
Yeah.
I mean, there are reasons that you would pick maybe a quicker, more athletic forward like a Dominic Calvert-Lewin or an Ollie Watkins, but they're great options to have off the bench.
Yeah.
Kane has to start, right?
If he's not dead, he has to start.
Basically this.
Yeah.
And given the way that previous Spurs managers have played, maybe even if he is basically dead, he'll still get selected.
I think that's fine.
Declan Rice is the anchorman in midfield.
It's interesting how quickly Rice has become the number 2 pick, but I can see why you say that.
I just think he's so important to the way the team plays. He adds that solidity in front of the back 4 or back 3. I think he is a better transitional player than sometimes England allows him to be.
Yeah.
For West Ham, he can carry the ball, he can spray longer passes around. He's incredibly reliable. I also think from a personality perspective, he's obviously hugely popular within the squad, and he just seems to carry himself in the way that suggests he is completely at ease in international football.
And he's probably a future captain.
I would say he's a future captain, yes. My next pick is going to be the goalkeeper because I think that's really important, and I'm going with Aaron Ramsdale, and it feels like that we're on this kind of Tifo-centric mission to rehabilitate our own opinions of Aaron Ramsdale.
Sure.
But on current form, he is the best English goalkeeper, and there is no dispute about that. His short kicking game is fantastic. His distribution over longer into this sort of space here is really good. His shot stopping has excelled so far this season. He's the best best goalkeeper in the Premier League for saving shots more than you'd think based on the quality of the shots.
Yeah.
I think it has to be him. Centre back, Harry Maguire. Obviously not massively in form at the moment, although a lot of that is to do with the issues in front of him in Manchester United's midfield.
Sure.
I just think as a kind of talismanic presence, as somebody who's been there and done that during previous international tournaments, the ability to score important goals from set pieces, that's good. He has a good relationship with John Stones. Both of them, I like the way that they can progress the ball forward. Stones likes to drop in here and play these passes, whereas Maguire is more inclined to carry it up.
But they're both ball players, aren't they? Which is nice.
Right. I mean, let's be honest, centre-back is England's area of weakness if they have one.
Sure.
So, on the left-hand side, I'm going for Luke Shaw. Now, I think Ben Chilwell's been fantastic. Obviously, he's weighing in with goals for Chelsea. He's very dynamic. There's almost very little to choose between those two. I think they're both excellent players. The reason that I'm going for Shaw on this left-hand side is because I'm going for Trent Alexander-Arnold on the right-hand side. And what that does is it means that when Alexander-Arnold's all the way up here and the defensive things that people complain about with him for Liverpool are the case, there's just a little bit more security with Shaw tucking in, Shaw's recovery pace to make challenges. England can form this sort of back 3 or rhombus shape here to give Alexander-Arnold the protection to roam up here because, and as Grace Robertson made this point in a recent mail out, he is too good a creative player, Alexander-Arnold, not to find some way of fitting him into the team.
Yes.
It's really unlucky on Reece James, who I think is fantastic and I love, but he's not getting in.
Can I say about Luke Shaw as well, we know at least for Manchester United that he's a very influential player within the club and he's a tenacious team leader.
Yeah, and I think that's crucial. And I think you do, particularly when you go into tournaments like the World Cup and particularly this one where the environment might be a little different to what players are used to.
Sure.
Having those big characters and those established players is going to be really, really important.
The composure to score a goal in a Euros final.
Right. Having said that, my next player is basically still a child, Jude Bellingham. I think Jude Bellingham is the future of England's midfield alongside Declan Rice.
Right.
He is just a glorious player to watch. We've made a video about it before. I would probably play him on the right-hand side of this because he will be able to fill in here and defend. Also, when Alexander-Arnold's getting up here, Bellingham's going to press really aggressively in this space, which will help tie off that part of the pitch and allow Alexander-Arnold to get back and cover.
He's sort of an all-rounder, really, isn't he?
Jude Bellingham is a fantastic all-rounder. There's basically nothing he can't do, and his ability to pick sensible little passes to keep the ball moving around.
Yeah.
I think it's really exciting, particularly when you look at what England have got further up the pitch.
Yeah.
His partner in central midfield is going to be Mason Mount.
Okay.
Mount is probably, if Alexander-Arnold is in the team, Mount's going to have to be a little more defensive than his inclination, but this relationship that he has with Shaw and with Sterling, who's also coming in here on the left-hand side, their ability to create these little passing triangles and make runs, space for each other is so important to the way that England play.
Can I say too that I think one good thing about playing Mount and Kane in the same team is that Mount is very aware and always facilitates Kane's movement, which is very important if you're going to play behind a striker who drops off all the time, right?
Right, so if Kane's dropping off into this space here, Mount's natural inclination is with these guys here particularly to make an attacking unit here and burst beyond that line, which Kane can facilitate by playing passes in here, or even just by creating the space, dragging the opposition forwards. Bellingham can push up and create this sort of line here, and Alexander-Arnold also, they're going to have their work cut out a little bit to keep that secure, but it does work. There's a reason too, because we've only got 10 players on the pitch. So let's bring in our final player, make these guys a little clearer like this.
Reece James.
Reece James, no.
He's one of the two over here.
I mean, Reece James could totally play as a right winger, or actually that could happen as well, but it's not going to. No, it's Phil Foden.
It's Phil Foden.
And I think the reason that it has to be Phil Foden is...
Another future England captain.
Well, I don't think Foden's quite like that. I mean, Bellingham is probably a future England captain. Mount is probably a future England captain.
There's several.
There's several who seem to have the charisma and leadership to be able to take that role on. But Foden has the creativity. He has the ability to carry the ball through tight spaces. He can play intelligent, interesting passes. He can get forwards and score. He can dribble in a way that some of these other guys can't.
He's just amazing.
He's just amazing, yes. And the Euro didn't quite happen for him.
Sure.
There was a lot of hype about him in the build-up to that. I think this maybe is the tournament where he comes good.
Yeah.
Pep's sort of bulked him out a little bit, made him much more responsible for phases of play.
Yeah.
This would be my starting lineup. Now, obviously, there are some really big kind of omissions from this, players like Jack Grealish particularly.
Sure.
I think the right-back argument is going to go on and on. People would maybe argue that Kevin Phillips should be in instead of Jude Bellingham because of that greater degree of, Calvin Phillips because of that greater degree of experience.
We could also say that we've got Rashford and Sancho and who's the other forward I'm thinking of?
Greenwood,
yeah.
Looking forward to 2026,
Sure.
Greenwood should be England's number 9 by that point.
Right.
Foden and Sancho should probably be the two wide attacking players. Then you've got Bellingham. Mount's probably still around at that point, but maybe it's someone like Conor Gallagher.
Cool, bit of a shame for old Rashford, isn't it? He's managed to come up in a team. He's never quite managed to crack
But
this one.
there are a lot of players that you can think of that are like that. I mean, imagine being somebody like, I don't know, Harvey Barnes.
Sure.
Right? Harvey Barnes is a shoo-in to England teams 5-10 years ago.
Yeah.
But he's just come through at this particular point where there is so much talent in this part.
Particularly on that left-hand side.
That England can put out a front five that's as good as most other sides in the world.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what I would do.
There we go. I like it.
Thank you.
I'm excited.
If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. The Athletic brings you the best sports journalism in the world in a personalised experience, connecting you with the stories and teams that you care about the most. There's coverage of 13 sports, plus direct access to world-class journalists through live Q&As, discussions and podcasts. Not to mention, it's all ad-free. And you can try it now for free for 30 days by clicking the link in the description.